When I first saw Ethan, he immediately caught my eye. He was really handsome and always surrounded by women. In fact, the reason I got closer to him was because I wanted to become like him. Yes, it was my fault. I put myself straight into the arms of the devil. When I was a freshman, I became close to him, and we quickly became best friends. But there was something strange about him. It was his foul smell, which I've never smelled before. One day I half-jokingly asked him if he worked at a fish factory, but he just looked at me with a stone-faced expression. There were also days when his smell was especially strong, and he appeared really tired. Over time, my friends and I began to wonder more and more what was going on. When we asked him any questions, he never answered. The oddest thing was whenever I shook his hand, or just touched him, his rotten smell would linger on my body for days. I couldn't bear it, so I directly asked him what was causing this terrible smell. Then Ethan applied something under my nose that seemed like toothpaste. Perhaps some sort of ointment, saying, "Wait and see, soon you'll start sensing this smell on your body." After saying this, he burst into laughter. One day, he stopped attending school. He was not responding to my calls or texts, so I began to worry about him. Certain rumors started spreading about him, one of which was that he had gone to prison. This alone was quite shocking, but I was even more shocked when I learnt the reason for the rotten smell. The police disclosed that he'd been trafficking human bodies, making a fortune by buying and selling intact corpses on dark web. The police struggled to find proof since he had a lot of time between transactions lately. A student from our school disappeared, and while searching for him, crimes committed by Ethan emerged. His body was found in Ethan's basement, where there was also a specially built coffin that protected the body from decomposition. There were also plenty of various embalming supplies. He earned a lot of money from these transactions and planned to buy land to move somewhere far away when I found out about this, I felt bad for being friends with someone like that. After some time, the case quieted down, and we slowly began to forget about it. Nevertheless, there is one thing that still bothers me. It was something Ethan did one day. He invited me over to swim in his pool, but it was oddly large and deep, so deep in fact that you couldn't see the bottom. I didn't want to get in the water because I was so scared. He kidded me at the time, saying, "I'm a chicken." He even tried to push me in. Now when I think about it, it seems like that decision saved my life. The sense of dread that I had that day probably wasn't just due to how deep the pool was. It was something in his eyes that gave me chills. If I had entered the pool back then, I would probably be in the coffin he made, and I would end up like his other victims who were sold to someone on the dark web. I would have disappeared without a trace, and he would have just profited off of me.